slow. Good morning. Well, it is 6:45 in the morning, Sunday morning, Memorial Day weekend, and I've just gotten home from work about half an hour ago. And I figured I'd talk a little bit about my morning. Um, in the morning, I have a client that we get up, and he really likes to listen to music. So as we're doing other things after we get him up, he sits by the radio, and we do our thing. And there are different radio stations that different workers like to put on. And this morning it was the oldies, and most of you probably have, connections, and memories and different things like that go with music, and how you can take a song and it'll take you back to a time when you were driving down Northampton Street smoking cigarettes, or when you were with someone, or going to the pool when you were 10 or something. But American Pie takes me back to a Friday night when I was probably about 5 or 6 years old, because it was 1972 when the song was popular, from the research that I've done. And of course we know that the song is about Buddy Holly and his plane that went down in February 1959, and the name of the plane was American Pie. And the Big Bopper, who also sang Chantilly Lace, and the guy who sang La Bamba also went down in that plane. And so that they say these lyrics are about the day the music died. And there are so many different connections to different things that had gone on in the song, and it's just a really interesting song. But I remember when I was little being in the back seat of the car singing the song, and it would be, drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry, and good old boys were drinking whiskey and rye, and I would sing wine. The good old boys were singing whiskey and wine, and I was, 5 or 6, and my dad corrected me, and he said, "Tammy, it's whiskey and rye." And I said, "Oh, okay, whiskey and rye, whiskey and wine. Well, what's rye, Dad?" And I guess he told me it was some sort of whiskey, I would assume. I don't really remember. But it was around the time that Rosemary's Baby was a popular movie, because it was my dad and mom took my brother and I to the drive-in, and this song played on the way there. I don't know why I remember it. I do. And my dad telling me about this song, and it never really made much sense to me until I got older and did some research on it, and found out what the different things meant. And if anybody's interested, it's in when you do Google, and it talks about Wikipedia, whatever that is. They have a nice synopsis of what all the different lyrics mean. If you're interested, I'll post it on the intro or whatever that is over there. That info thing over there in the box on the screen there. You know what I mean. I've been up all night. Give me a break. But yes, we went to see. Now, I guess Rosemary's Baby was probably the later movie. We probably went to see Bedknobs and Broomsticks or something, or I don't know what the popular Disney movie was back then. But I remember pulling in to the drive-in. I don't know which. We had two of them very close to the house. One which is in Eastern Palmer Township. One was up in Bethlehem. And I looked over, and there was a woman in like a 1950s car smoking a cigar. And I said, "Mom, look!" I'm like, that lady in that car over there smoking a cigar. It's a lady smoking a cigar. Shh, they say, shh, don't make a big deal. Just be quiet. And that lady who was sitting over there smoking that cigar, moved. She did a little, fit, and pulled out. Like it wasn't unusual to see a woman smoking a cigar in a 1950s car, let alone having a 5-year-old, mention it. What was the big hairy deal? It was an unusual thing to see. But anyway, isn't that a funny memory? It's Memorial Day weekend, and I remember when I lived up in Wisconsin, I had a friend, Cindy, who grew up in the foster system because her father had died and her mother had some mental illness issues and was in a mental hospital when she was young, and she had a brother who committed suicide, and so she had been through a lot in her life, and she used to like to go to the cemeteries. Her brothers and her mother had been buried further away from the town that we lived in, but she liked to go to the cemetery on Memorial Day and remember her family. And I just remember thinking how incredibly lucky, I suppose, fortunate I'd been in my life that I'd never experienced the death of a close one that was close to me. My grandfather did die when I was right after I graduated high school, the summer before I went to college. Pop Eli, but that was really the first person who was even remotely close to me. Remotely close isn't that kind of a unusual sentence. But and cats, my cats, who I was always very close to, my cats would die, and I would always mourn them profusely, like they were children or siblings, or my cats. But I never experienced the loss of anyone. Well, my brother's friend David died when he was 9 and I was 12, and I remember that being very, very hard on all of us, and not coming to terms with death, at such a young age. But this is the first Memorial Day, that I'm living with my dad gone, and who had died March 12th of this year. And to just think back to, I was in my 20s before I even realized Memorial Day was about remembering people who died, soldiers, and apparently people who celebrated, for their loved ones, go to the cemetery, even if they weren't military people. And, to me, it was just a weekend that you got longer holidays, for college or school or, work or whatever. To think that it was actually, more than that. I was in my 20s before it hit me because, sure, we had emotional things go on in our life, but we didn't have a perfect life, but we were actually pretty fortunate. So anyway, I just wanted to, talk about those memories that I had from the early 1970s that included my dad. And I think about him all the time. It's my cat over there, chasing her ball and her tail. But to actually have a day that people celebrate the memory of loved ones, that's today. So, happy Memorial Day weekend, and I'm up to 9:31, so I better sign off. Have a good weekend, y'all.